welcome back to Pod Destroyer episode 10. Beardo, can you believe it? We're in double digits already.
We made it, yeah, episode 10.
So I'm Metalmance, and as always, I'm joined by the very brilliant Beardodoom.
Hi,
And we
everyone.
have a very special guest today who I'm so hyped to introduce. We have Ronnie K-O with us today. How are you, Ronnie?
All right, hello. Hello from Wales, in the sticks of Wales.
Amazing. I'm so happy you can join us. So we didn't plan to record it on today, and today, the day of recording, is International Women's Day. So it feels quite apt that our special guest is Ronnie. And International Women's Day, it's also 10 years of my blog Metalmance, and I'm so hyped to have Ronnie on here because growing up, Ronnie was my idol in metal journalism. So it's just brilliant meeting you, Ronnie, and chatting about what we're going to be chatting about. But yeah, it feels quite prominent today for women and metal. But Ronnie, before we start chatting rock sound and stuff, what's your journey in journalism and what are you doing now?
Well, what am I not doing now? Well, my journey in journalism is a bit of a weird one, really, because I started off in an all-girl band. We just started off because, to escape from the general doldrums of life, really. Yeah, there's a bit of a longer story involved. I've been putting some posts up which explain all of that. But basically, I decided I was going to play the drums and no fucking person was going to stop me. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah. We're not monetized here, so just fucking fuck it.
So that's basically the essence of it. We were going to be an all-girl band and no one was going to stop us. And I decided to play drums because I couldn't be bothered to learn the guitar because it was a bit more complicated. So that's how I started off in this all-girl band called Frantic Spiders. We were just two of us are punks. We like to say the other two were a bit more on the indie hippie type side. And yeah, we just did that. And I actually started writing was we had this fanzine that we decided, this happened in the space of 2 years, by the way, all this crazy stuff for this band. And I had this fanzine. We had a fanzine called The Plug Hole, because like spiders and plugs, right? It's just, now it seems really, thing. But at the time it was like, we were like 16, 17, and it was just, we thought it was great. And we'd interview all these people, but ask some really cringeworthy things. Like, I asked Wiz from Mega City 4 what he thought of Frantic Spiders, for instance. He obviously never heard of us, but like the whole interview was about my band. We were there interviewing this guy. I asked him nothing about Mega City 4. So that's basically how I got into writing about bands, really. Just, I seem to remember my first ever interview with Godflesh, right?
Just go straight in there.
Or something like that for the plug hole, or another similar thing that I was writing for at the time. And it was well embarrassing, actually. I hope Justin Broderick doesn't ever remember this, because I barged backstage. They were playing at the Mean Fiddler with this band called Die Cheerleader, another all-girl band, which were fucking awesome. And Jacob's Mouse, I don't know if anyone remembers them. I asked Justin Broderick what his favourite colour was.
It's a good start. I think that's a good little into anything, is it?
I can't remember. I think he gave some kind of nihilistic answer, like, I don't know. I can't even remember what he said. And, that is like total, you don't ask that question, do you really? So I was asking all the shittest questions ever. And that was how I got into writing about bands, And I just carried on. I was in other bands myself, but I just carried on writing about people, trying to expose other people's bands because I thought people should know about them, that sort of thing. So that's how I got into it.
Amazing. And I feel like now you don't get those interviews anymore. Because like reading Kerrang or Metal Hammer or Rock Sound back in the day, and like the stupid questions that bands would get asked. And like when I started blogging, I remember thinking, do I need to ask questions like this?
Yeah, exactly.
It is like doing your first band interview, so nerve-wracking, because you're just like, so what's the meaning behind your name? Or something like that.
But we were never afraid, because first of all, we used to just assault these bands. There was 4 girls in my band, and we used to just fucking kick the back door open of this, their dressing room, and just barge in, and they'd be like, oh, who's this then? And we're like, oh, we want to do an interview for our magazine. What do you think of our band then? Just like
I think that sort of that punk rock element of fanzines and like not giving a shit is just, I always don't want to sound like old man shakes fist at cloud, but it just isn't the same. And I think we could really like go into that later on about where metal journalism is now. But did you have like a channel into metal back then, or like what was your sort of journey from maybe the more kind of punkier stuff that you started with, and you were like, okay, I'm in the metal world now?
Well, it's quite weird, actually. I'm going to admit this because people are embarrassed to say it, but like we were obsessed with U2, right?
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely fucking obsessed. And that was like one of our main missions, because we'd read this book called The Unforgettable Fire. I think Anton Corbijn wrote it. And this was when we were 14, and we were like, right, if they can do it, we can do it. And so they mentioned in that book this other band they used to hang around with called the Virgin Prunes. And I was somebody that would be reading, oh, who's this? I've got something to show you, which is really cool. Wait. So this.
Oh, yeah.
The Virgin Prunes, right? They're my fucking favourite band, alongside Killing Joke and obviously Godflesh. But like I got into them, and they were just so they would do a gig where it would last for 10 hours, and they'd just be banging scaffolding poles, and somebody would be in a tin of baked beans. So I was like, that is so cool, so that's what got me into like thinking off the page, out of the box of the U2 sort of standard, everything's got to be rock 4/4 sort of thing, because this band were doing mental things. Like one person was dressed up as a sheep, and they locked people in an art gallery and played their music backwards to them. So yeah, and this whole thing, this box set's called Heresy, so you can imagine what that is. There's loads of like the Lord's Prayer backwards and all that sort of stuff going on. But what got me into metal, as opposed to, I was well into punk, because I used to live with my auntie when I was younger, and at the time I was about 7, and my cousin and his friends were 16, 17, and they were all punks, and they used to talk about all these gigs they went to. They used to play all this punk music and just sit there looking hard in the kitchen, and I'd come in as a little kid and like show off, and throw stuff at them and just show off, but I was picking it up, all this punk stuff. And then sort of the metal thing came about because I was going out with somebody, and we used to stay with one of his best friends. We used to go to Southampton and see one of his best friends called Mick Shepherd. And it was at his house that I heard Head of David for the first time. And I was like, what's this? And then Prong. And then like we went to see Prong Godflesh, and it was supposed to be the Stretch Heads, but it was actually turned out to be the Scissormen, which is a very strange connection, because years later my friend married the singer of the Scissormen.
How nice.
But at the time I didn't know who this band were. But anyway, yeah, we all went to see Prong and Godflesh at the venue in New Cross, which used to be like the best venue around. Yeah, so this guy Mick Shepherd was the one that was playing all this stuff, and he was like, oh, you got to hear this, you got to hear that. So
it's sort of a natural transition, wasn't it? I suppose, from that sort of punkier side. And I mean, that's a good place to start. Godflesh, Prong, Head of David, all of that sort of stuff. I mean, that's my bag as well.
It kind of is similar to the Virgin Prunes, even though the Virgin Prunes were so left field. You could almost say they were like White House were sort of influenced by them, probably because of that weirdness. But like at the time, Godflesh, Head of David, there wasn't any bands around like them. Yeah, I just soaked up loads of things from everyone. Like I had this album, I bet everyone's got it. I should have put it nearer to grab. Wait a sec.
She comes back from a costume change.
Right? Does everyone remember that?
Yeah, I have that, of course. Yeah, yeah. When you buy that and you buy it for the Godflesh track, and then you hear everything else on there, and you've got Nocturnus and Morbid Angel and Bolt Thrower and all of that sort of stuff, and you're like, yeah, this is my jam.
Death as well.
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
this as well. Do you remember this?
No, I don't actually. That's Sub Pop. Yeah.
Yeah. So I bought that because I fucking loved. Well, I loved Mudhoney. I was obsessed with Mudhoney at one point, and I thought, oh, I'll get this because there's some other bands that are on Sub Pop that I might like, and obviously, then Soundgarden became one of my favorite bands ever as well. But it wasn't even called grunge then, was it? It's just called the bands on Sub Pop.
Yeah, yeah. So when did you start thinking, right, I could probably turn this into an actual career? Like,
when I was in that band. Seriously,
okay.
We did. We were, like we were so. I can't believe it. Like we'd only been playing our instruments. Well, Charlie was really good. She'd been playing guitar for like longer than she was like our hero. She's in bands now. She's on tour, like in Amsterdam and all that across the water even now. But we just decided it was going to be our job to be in this band. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah.
I left the job I was doing because of some horrible blokes. I was working for this newspaper, and these horrible blokes, like, like this is one incident where I was coming down the ladder off the press, and this bloke had his hand ready for me to, land on in a particular way. This is what I was up against, right? And that sort of thing. And it was like, we weren't. Our band, our all-girl band at the time, wasn't getting any of that where you'd expect we would be. But at this press, this newspaper I worked at, I was getting all of that. And it made me so angry. I was like, I'm going to leave this, and we're going to be famous in our band, so I won't have to put up with it. But yeah, there was a bit of violence. I think I stabbed on that bloke's head, and I ripped up all their page 3 calendars, went fucking apeshit on this press of this newspaper, and just walked out, and they couldn't believe it. I was the only woman that worked for this newspaper as well.
Yeah.
They were in shock because I just went out in a fucking blaze of glory because I'd had enough.
Yeah.
Then I decided, I was in another band as well, Toxic Shock Syndrome, which was a bit more industrial. We loved bands like Optimum Moon Profile, obviously Godflesh, Ministry. And we were getting loads of press at the time. And I thought that would be the band that I'd make, be able to make a living off. But obviously no one really does. And these days, no one makes the money off bands because of shit like Spotify. Fuck Spotify again. So eventually I moved to London, and it was Tina, the girl I'm telling you about now, on International Women's Day. Tina that got me back into writing. I'd been sort of out on a limb for a few years, working in the Dr. Martin shop, working at the London Dungeon, etc. And she just was getting back into photography because she was quite, she was an amazing photographer, and she was getting loads of work in Finland for the music press. But she just moved over to the UK and was finding her feet really. And I was always her plus one. I got to know the Terrorizer crew. At the time, it was Jonathan and Catherine Yates. And Tina really was like, oh, let Ronnie write for you. She'll be really good. So I think they tested me out with an Extreme Noise Terror live review.
So you were writing for Terrorizer before Rock Sound came about. Yeah.
This is around the year 2000.
Yeah.
And I think they tested me out with that one because they wanted to see if I knew anything about the band. Mm-hmm. But I'd been selling merch for this band, Head Cleaner, who were on tour with Extreme Noise Terror in about 92, 93. So by that, I was selling T-shirts for Extreme Noise Terror at a really good time. So I kind of knew them and knew about them. So it wasn't so much a test, but more like oh, there they are again.
Yeah. And you're like, don't worry about it. I know these guys.
It kind of worked. And yeah.
Good. And how long were you with Terrorizer for?
Well, in my mind, I feel like I was doing like reviews, doing all that kind of thing for ages. But I was just looking back at some old copies now, and it was only a matter of months.
Okay.
And like I was doing like album reviews. Jonathan Seltzer was like, "Oh, can you write the words Dirty Sanchez somewhere in the review?" And we would do it. I was doing it for my own amusement, really. And then I wrote a piece on Charger, and obviously Sadler then knew who I was, so he poached me to do some, just do some reviews, do some features for Rock Sound. And then eventually they were looking for a staff writer, and I applied, and I got the job.
Should we and I'm just going to set the scene and tie all of this stuff together so we can understand how you and I met, Ronnie, how I know Sadler, what the story about Undergroove Records is. So when I was at college, I wrote my own fanzine, and it was called Dirtbox, which was, looking back, pretty horrible. But I also subscribed to Undergroove when it was a fanzine before the Undergroove label. So there I was, like 16 years old, writing to Sadler going, "Hey, I'm doing this fanzine. I was at college. Have you got any advice?" and things like that. Sent me a big package of all his old Undergroove fanzines and things like that. So I'd already had that sort of connection. And then through my friends living with, being friends with Johnny Truant, who signed to Undergroove. And then essentially that whole circle came about where, became friends with Sadler, met you, Ronnie, out and about, this, that, and the other. And I suppose early 2000s, we had this sort of little sort of rock soundy sort of group, I suppose. Which is, and it was a good little time. So were you involved with Rock Sound from the start, or how did that come about?
I was looking earlier. I think I came on board about issue 37.
Okay,
so it must have been going for
late
years.
Yeah.
It was going for, I think Taylor was, but he wasn't as editor all that time. But yeah, there's a weird little story actually. When I got the job for writing for Rock Sound, I was at this, I think it was a candlelight record thing at the Underworld, like loads of those sort of bands. And there was this other writer called Daniel Lukes, right? Oh, everyone's gone. Are you still there?
Yeah, we're still here. We're still here. So keep going. We'll cover the technology problems if you're there. Maybe I'll just pause for a bit. Okay, and we're back after some technical difficulties. Ronnie, where were we? We were talking about Rock Sound, what issue you got started with, etc. So
yeah.
You said you were there about sort of 2 years into it from the start.
This funny story.
Oh no.
Okay, and we're back. Some technical difficulties. I'm sure I've just taped all of this together, and nobody's going to know anything. So yes, Ronnie, let's talk about some of the experiences that you had at Rock Sound magazine. What was your experience like?
How when I first got the job actually, and I was out celebrating, I used to hang around with Rafi, who wrote for Terrorizer. And we were at this Candlelight Records gig at the Underworld, and there was another writer that we used to hang out with. We were quite good friends with, and you'd think he'd be happy for me to get the job at Rock Sound. He was in full-on corpse paint with a black wig, and the clothes, right? Should we say? And I said to him, "Oh yeah, I got the job at Rock Sound," and he was really angry, and he said, "What, you?" I said, "Yeah, what's wrong with that?" And he went, "But you're a woman."
Oh
yeah.
My God.
So it was quite shocking, really. But let's put it this way. He became the laughing stock because I ripped off his wig in front of everyone at this gig, you know. And I said, at least I'm not a fucking fake. And then that was that. Went to write Rock Sound.
Good. And you certainly weren't. I mean, it's worth Mance, because I feel like I've done too much gabbing already for because you said your sort of your start and being really interested in like writing and metal journalism came through Rock Sound magazine. So
and I've got it here. So I know I've talked about this on a previous episode where a particular issue of Rock Sound was, I would say, my downfall in a way, but it's what got me into metal, and I've got it with me now. So I managed to get my magazines on the weekend. So it was Rock Sound issue 66, then in brackets an extra 6, and I was 13. I didn't know what 666 was. So but anyway, so I bought this one because I saw that the Rasmus were in it, and you know, back then they were my absolute faves, and I was having a look at this,
weren't they?
yeah. And you know, they're still going strong. And I was looking at this yesterday, and where is it?
Is that the one when I went to their studio?
It was, yeah. So here it is. So it was 7 Deadly Sins, and lo and behold, it's you who's done this.
Yeah.
But the one that actually changed the whole course of my life was and again, this was you who wrote this.
Placebo?
18 Visions.
Oh yeah, no, I loved them.
And honestly, Ronnie, like your interview with them and them on this Cover Mount CD changed my life forever. And then also the other issue I got when they were all in that hot tub. That was a whole thing for me as an impressionable teenager. but yeah,
I was thinking about that the other day, that hot tub scene. Like, I think it was like,
do I have it here? Wait, I do have it here.
I think it was like the photographer. I think I can't remember. It was a friend of theirs anyway, the photographer, and they were at a party after a gig, and they went in there with some girls. I don't know if the girls are in the picture. No. It's like quite random, isn't it? They're in their pants, aren't they?
Yeah, they're proper like unclothed.
Yeah, and I think they had their pants on.
Yeah, I was like 14 at that point. I'm just like,
were you like, oh, this is interesting?
That was Mance's coming of age.
It was, yeah. I mean, I'm blushing now just looking at this. But yeah, again, that was Ronnie. So I don't know if it was Ronnie that was really influential or just the bands that she covered.
I think my picture's gone again. I'm just going to fiddle around a bit.
We can still hear you.
We can hear you fine.
Am I still there?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
There, I can hear you fine. You will return, I'm sure.
Problem with Zoom on my laptop. Yeah.
That's right.
I will.
That's all right. We'll just carry on, and we'll be able to see you again.
I don't think there we are
back.
I don't think is my laptop like the Zoom app. That's what it is. Yeah.
No, I don't blame it. Zoom can be a bit funny.
Because of 18 Visions, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm having a hot flush right now. But yeah, so but honestly, like I've said before, this issue and just Rock Sound in general. I mean, I'm gutted that Darren isn't on here. I might just explode if everyone was on here. So it's quite funny that you know, you and Beardo know each other, me and Beardo know each other, and you know, you're saying about your little Rock Sound crew back in the day, and of course I was just a very, very young reader back then. But I'm going to show everyone now, Beardo, in this issue. And what I liked was Rock Sound doing the club night coverage. And who is in this one? It is, where's the page? I should have put a little sticky thing in. A Trey's in this one, and I'm wearing their t-shirt right now. Here it is. Here we go, club report.
Did in the engine room, Brighton.
What, this one?
I might have done that Atreyu thing.
Oh, yeah, hang on. Before we show the world Beardo. No, it wasn't. It was Ed Pearson. It was the sound advice.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
But anyway, on the other page, you have... So...
wee little me, 25-year-old me. That was because we did two club nights, both and to be brutally honest, how it got endorsed by Rock Sound was just because we knew Sadler, so we were just like, can we become, and he was like, yeah, no problem. But I do remember, like, we used to get big boxes of stuff sent to us from Jägermeister, and it was like there was some sort of Rock Sound connection, Jägermeister endorsement, and we used to get massive boxes of like big old bottles of Jägermeister and things like that, and free CDs to like give out at the club nights and stuff. And it was ace because we did get that exposure within the magazine, for that. I don't recall who came down to like cover it, but that was twice that we were in there.
And it's funny,
cover it yourself, Dan?
Maybe probably.
We used to get people to take the pictures and just send them to us, and then
that probably makes a bit more sense.
Yeah, I used to get
which would explain why they're all your best mates.
Yes, it is a bit like, every single one of the people featured in there are some of my best mates. We had at least 10 people used to turn up to those things. It was a big old night.
And I just find this really funny reading it out loud. Says promoter Dan Beard. We got sick of Brighton's so-called alternative clubs, so we decided to start our own. With our rock star contacts, we're able to get the best guest DJs, and we've already seen the likes of members of Sixth and Johnny Truant spin the discs. In the coming months, we've lined up guest DJ sets from Pitch Shifter and Therapy. Basically, we're pretty good and have awesome beards. So visit us for some quality rock and beard-related shenanigans. And that was May 2005.
And essentially never a truer word has been spoken. I said this to you yesterday. I don't remember how we might have got anybody from Therapy. Mark,
maybe that fell through.
Well, I think it's probably because because like Mark Claydon was teaching at BIM at the time, I think.
Yeah.
And I had a few connections at BIM, so that's how we were able to. We asked him to do it, but he wanted to be paid, and we were like, we can't pay. there's no money here, Mark. We just need you to come and like play some CDs for us. So I do remember having that conversation with him.
It's just so funny though. 21 years later, we've got a podcast, and then Sixth being on that club night, and last weekend we were in London seeing Sixth. Isn't it strange how the universe works?
There was a massive Doom Fest last weekend when you were in London, in Hackney actually.
Yeah, there was a couple of good things all at the same time whilst we were there, but we do
as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, the night before was Crowbar. Yeah. So I'm going to talk about a couple of my theories about why bands like Sixth and Crowbar and stuff are actually getting bigger now. But I think it's also good to like talk about whether there's a gap for like real metal journalism today. And I think there is, but bands are still getting, older bands I think are getting more popular because of social media. And like when we were watching Sixth last week, I noticed that the crowd wasn't as aged as I thought they were going to be, and there was a lot more. There was a lot more movement down the front. People were bouncing and having a good time, rather than kind of. I'm not jaded. I'm having a great time. When I'm stood at the back with my arms crossed and a pint, I'm having a wonderful time internally. I'm not getting in the pit, that's just not happening these days. And I think, social media and that the sort of accessibility is really starting to, you know, bring those types of bands to people's view. But, you know, in the old days, in the whatever it is, the only access you had to bands was through magazines and through fanzines, and you know, how do you think it's changed, Ronnie? What's your experience having been deep in that and where we are today?
I think now you have to be really good at social media, because there's so many, you know, so many channels. This fuck Spotify. Sorry, I said it again.
It's fine. We're not on Spotify.
I really do hate Spotify. Me and Peter Theobald, who used to play in Cocker, are probably the ones that are like spearheading the movement of fuck Spotify. Because what do bands get out of it? They don't get anything out of it. Like, the worst thing ever is that I think you need something like over 1,000 streams to get, you know, even a fraction of a penny. But to get those 1,000 streams, people have to listen to your music for more than 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. So if people are just flicking through your music and it doesn't count, do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And bands don't get paid. You know, I'm married to somebody that's been in bands for God knows how long, longer than me. And he doesn't get any money from being in a band. You know, they got streamed thousands and thousands of times and they got 10p between them. Do you know what I mean? People can't find you. It's just like, it's like a telephone directory, isn't it? And you have to be really savvy for people to find you. So you need somebody savvy to just promote the hell out of you across the internet. I don't think there's any real magazines anymore, is there? You know, like somebody like me, I like a magazine. I like to read printed magazines, and there's Prog magazine, which Jerry runs, which is excellent. Do you know what I mean? And classic rock and those things. But they're for us, people that just are like old like me, that would just sit there with like the hot chocolate and my slippers and my cats, just reading a magazine at night. But like, where else do people look? It's just like so huge out there. So you need somebody to make a difference. I think you have to be on it all the time, don't you? It's not an accident that these bands are found. You know what I mean?
I think I think social media over kind of metal journalism and you know, printed magazines and stuff has sort of ruined the mythos of bands, because they're too accessible now. You kind of, you know, like I remember, I mean, take Metalmance, you know, when you first read 18 Visions, and, you know, there's that sort of untouchableness. You don't want to know really what their personalities are like as people. You want to know what the mythos is like as the band. And I think really where we've got today is, you know, people, there's just too many flaws, and you just understand you know, there's just a lot of shitty people in bands, and it's just amplified by their social media presence. And you know, I'm not sure where I'm going with this, but it's part of the controlled kind of structure of what it used to be like in a band, you know, record labels, PR, magazines. You know,
I think that's it, Dan. You know, like back in the day, like the band's image was totally, in a way, controlled by the PRs, controlled by the magazines as well. You know what I mean? You would have to go in there with an angle. If you wanted to interview somebody big, you'd have to say what the whole feature was going to be about. Whereas nowadays, anyone can put anything on the internet. You know, if somebody's killed their wife and they sing in a band, that's all over the place. Do you know what I mean? No one's managing it. You know what I mean? All this shit is out there, like you say, about all the bands. Anyone can put anything out about anyone. No one's controlled. Back in the day as well, bands, new bands, and I'm thinking of in particular those drive-through bands, you know, sort of pop punk bands, they were sort of given lessons in how to do interviews. Can you believe it? But nowadays that won't happen because they've got no one protecting their interests. Like if you're interviewing a band now, a new band, they wouldn't know what the fuck they were saying. They would just come out with everything. Whereas these bands back along, and I'm sure it happened with a lot more labels. I just saw it personally with drive-through. I just saw how they worked. You know, they were told.
Do you have a preference? Like, is it better today in some ways than it is then? Like, remove, because there was always, I would say there was always that pushback of control within
Yeah,
bands, like I don't want my record label telling me what to do, they own my masters, like all of those types of things. But to me, there was a quality control aspect to it
yeah,
back
yeah,
then. And it's like, I agree with the democratization, and I use this a lot, like the democratization of music today. Anybody can do anything, which is great, but it to me it dilutes some of the experience.
yeah. Yeah, I think you're right, and I think there's some things you shouldn't say. Like, I probably was a shit journalist in respect of, I had a few incidences where I was interviewing people and they had a nervous breakdown on the phone with me. I won't say who it was. Somebody else had some situation. They just split up with something. It was all public everywhere that they were with somebody else, and they were crying in their interview. So that sort of thing nowadays, that would be everywhere. But I turned off the tape recorder and I was like, this interview stopped now. Do you know what I mean? And it's really bizarre. I kind of became like they were just going for it, crying or having this breakdown. And then I phoned their PRs up or their managers up and told them what had happened and told them to stop the interviews, because I was thinking about them and how it would look for them. But nowadays, things don't happen like that. Sadler's probably watching this thinking, oh, fucking hell, she could have got a scoop with the magazine.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Maybe because I was female, it happened a lot. Do you know what I mean? Because they felt like they could open up.
Maybe a bit more open. Yeah, I think that's probably true.
Yeah, but there has to be some control. If that's everywhere, then I don't know, like that reflects on people in certain ways, doesn't it? But nowadays there isn't any control like that, not from people holding restraint if they're interviewing somebody, or bands just plastering it out there, having very public spats with one another, which doesn't do their music any good. Putting across racist, homophobic, whatever views, don't put them out. You know what I mean? Don't have those views in the first place, I should say. But they're all everywhere and people don't care anymore. There's no filters. Do you know what I mean? There should be filters. If you're protecting your product and you're protecting the thing you love and you've worked really hard to do, you've spent money, you've fucking grafted, not grifted to get where you are. Do you know what I mean? And then you just go and say everything everywhere, then you've kind of pissed on your bonfire. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think it's quite very good for your band. People think you're one way and then you show them you're another way.
That's right. That's right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It kind of piggybacks off.
Sorry, go
sorry,
on.
I was going to say, kind of piggybacks what I think I mentioned in another episode was when I started my blog 10 years ago, I was just on WordPress. People were still reading reviews and I was writing quite lengthy reviews. And I feel like back then I still had a lot more to say. And then, social media expanded and I have a love-hate relationship with it. It's definitely helped me out in getting my kind of reviews and stuff out there. But also it's really, I don't know, I feel like it's really watered down reviewing. So I kind of ended up catering my reviews to the social media audience. I now fit my reviews on just the grids, and even that's too long. I'll be like, okay, well, maybe I'll try reels. That's no one wants to watch a real review in a band, and then they're like, oh, how do we find new bands? And it's just, well, I'm telling you about new bands. But even like the attitudes, and I know I've said this before, back when I started, bands were like, oh, thank you so much for like reviewing our album, blah, 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 blah. And I'm not saying this is all the bands now, but it's definitely, I feel like the attitude shifted to, from, oh, thanks, you've really helped us out by doing this review, to, oh, hey, we're doing you a favor by asking you to review our album. And I just feel like that somewhere along the line that like the mentality is like completely flipped. So I don't really call myself a journalist. I'm more of a blogger, but I feel it's less rewarding now. And it's funny what you're saying, Ronnie, about bands back in the day were being taught how to do an interview. I've definitely had interviews back in the day when they haven't told me anything, and then you have to like try and write a piece,
coach it out of them.
Yeah, to like, you know, you need to edit it to make them sound interesting. And I remember one time I just didn't even write anything up because they just didn't give me anything worthy of writing up. It's just, but if, but this is more, you know, do they have anything to say about their music? You know, do they honestly not have anything to say about it? But yeah, so yeah,
Well, I think that's that there's I think Ronnie might have gone again, but we'll just keep going. I think that there is a lack of personality in bands these days as well. But I don't know whether that's a controlled, like, was that mythos created through, you know, the record label, through the magazine articles, you know, Headbangers Ball, etc., etc.
Oh,
how you doing, Ronnie? You there?
I think I'm back.
You are back. You are back.
Yeah, my laptop really hates Zoom. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
sorry to Zoom Enterprises. If it happens again, I'll go downstairs and
that's fine. And
Stu in the background.
And if we end up, we can do this again as well. If we end up like looking back and think, okay, it's not, but I'm sure it'll be absolutely fine. But we were just kind of talking about you know, sort of the differences between social media and metal journalism, or just music journalism in general. Did you ever find that you struggled with any bands in, you know, in kind of coaxing out their personalities, or like what was your like challenge experiences?
Oh, I've got a few written down. I won't say who he is though. One of the hardest people to interview was actually somebody I was friends with in a hardcore band, and they were singing in this quite big other band. And that was the last interview I ever did with anyone, actually. It was over Zoom on my actual computer, so they didn't have any technical problems. But like, we would speak to them in normal life, they were like, oh, hi, haven't seen you for years. And then you'd be, you know, just go, right, we're going to talk about this. And then he'd be like, why do you want to know that? What's the point of me telling you that? And I was like, oh my God. But yeah, there was a few people like that. Like, one of the weirdest people I interviewed was Serge, the singer of System of a Down.
Okay.
Like, so it was such a weird interview. I went to interview him and Chavo for a piece in Rock Sound, and they couldn't be more different. So I first went into Serge's room, and it was just like the windows were wide open. It was winter. He'd set the chairs across from each other, so I was directly facing him. Everything was put away. His bed, he'd folded like knife pleats. Do you know what I mean? Everything was like so like it was just showed his personality really, and he was just like, I don't respect your questions halfway through the interview, and I was like, oh well, I don't respect your answers.
yeah
So it was kind of like, it turned into a weird standoff actually. And then I went to interview Chavo, and he was just really cool. His room was a mess. He was just lying on the bed for the interview. He was really forthcoming. Do you know what I mean? So it was just really bizarre. Like, the two sides of that band, you know, were just there. Yeah. And another one that you've probably heard me talk about, Dan, is when Lemmy called me a cunt.
Yeah.
I should explain actually.
Now is your time to fully discuss that one.
Yeah, I think Sadler was supposed to be doing that interview, and it was like true or false with Motorhead discuss sort of interview. And I went there. He was in a really bad mood anyway. I think he was being filmed for a documentary, and he wasn't in the mood for it. But he agreed to do the interview because I was female, and I should have been grateful, apparently. So I went there, and he was like, send her up to my room, you know, and I went to his room. It was a right state. You can imagine there was JD bottles thrown everywhere, you know, takeaway wrappers. It stank. The only place to sit in there had his washing on the chair, right, with his fucking pants on the top with skid marks facing out. And I was just about to lift them off the chair, and I thought, I don't think I'll do that, actually. So I perched on a window ledge, and I was just firing these true or false type things, and he had to describe why things were true or false. And every question he just went mental at me. He was shouting at me, and then I got to a part. He was talking about the album Inferno, I think it's called. It came out like three. It took like no time to record. Hold on, I'm just going to stop this cat going mental. Sorry, she loves the Lemmy story. This is Mig. She's 19 years old. So yeah, basically, I was asking him about the album. I said, God, it was so quick to record, and he was like, yeah, unlike some bands, referring to Def Leppard, who apparently recorded an album note by note on guitars. And I said some really stupid thing that I shouldn't have really said, like something about it being drum by drum. And he went, you fucking cunt, who the fuck said that? You're a cunt. Just shouted at me so much, his false teeth flicked out. From then onwards, it was bad. Do you know what I mean? Everything I said, he was, yeah. And then he made me stand in front of him while he played this absolutely shit band that he was doing with Rat Scabies and Slim Jim Phantom. Played me 4 songs as well. And I was like, can I just go? He was like, what do you fucking think? And I was like, oh, yeah, it's nice. And I can't but yeah, you've got to have a thick skin, because you meet people like this all the time. You meet people that are really generous and you don't expect them to be. And you meet people that you think are going to be nice. And Tina, my friend that I mentioned earlier, Lemmy loved her, you know, maybe because she dressed like, you know, Tina, very glamorous. But I used to go there with a hoodie done right up, do you know what I mean, with my baseball shoes on and that. And I don't think that was Lemmy's thing, you know. I think he preferred it if you were a female-looking female, should we say. Yeah. So, yeah, from the off, he was a bit disappointed, shall we say.
I mean, it's sort of obvious, like, you know, when I was talking about how things were better in the metal journalism and how they are now, there's still that terrible power dynamic challenge even back then. But then I think all of those edges would have been sanded off by, you know, like how did that article then come across in the in the magazine?
So my usual style, I know you two are familiar with reading it, was to write a feature with the quotes from the band. But there's no way I could have done that with that. So I just wrote it like a script. Rock Sound does this, Lemmy says this. Rock Sound says this, Lemmy says that. Because there's nothing else you could do with it. You couldn't write like a serious piece. And, you know, like if people read the thing, they would see that they'd see his personality, should we say, and how he treats people. But if I'd written it any other way, it wouldn't have been truthful, you know. I think you've got to always present the truth, unless it's going to hurt them badly or yourself badly. But yeah, like I say, you as a woman, you had to really go in there with a thick skin. You had to work harder than the men, because people looked at you and thought, oh, you can't do the job. You're just here for a moment or whatever. And also, I feel like you had to try really hard for bands to trust you, because why should they? They trusted men more than you. I remember this one time when I turned up at Brixton Academy to interview Rammstein, and this bloke on the door thought I was a groupie.
Yeah,
like, no, I'm a journalist, you know, and they wouldn't believe me for ages until I got their PR to come down and take me to the room. And funnily enough, the room where I did the interview was when my band played there many years before, was our dressing room. And I was like, I'm back.
yeah. Actually, I've been here before. Yeah.
But yeah, there were so many things like that went on. Like there was a time when I went to interview Korn, and Jonathan Davis decided, without even meeting me, that he didn't want me to interview him. So he walked out the hotel. And I just thought, fuck it. And I was a bit worried because I didn't want to let Darren Taylor or Darren Sadler down, because it was a 4-page or 5-page thing at the very last thing. So coming towards deadline, there wouldn't be much to replace those pages. So I literally stayed in that hotel with a girl that used to do a radio show. She was also after me for the interview. So we were like, right, we're going to stay here till he comes back. And all the band were hiding. Their PR was hiding. We were like, fuck it, we're going to drink on their tab, which we did in the bar. The people at the bar, we didn't even ask. They went, oh, is this some Chords tab? And we went, yeah. And we got a few strawberry daiquiris. And then some of the band came back and they were in the bar, and I was like, "Oh, your singer's a right bastard. He was meant to do an interview with us, and he hasn't. He's run away." So we had Monkey and whoever else there doing an interview with us, and we got the piece, and yeah, we stayed there till we got it.
Yeah, good. Oh my God.
That's the difference between, because you said one word there that I was like, that's what's missing these days, deadlines. Like there's no real concept of need or delivery or time. And like I don't know if the whole music industry PR world has gone away or whether it's changed. What's your experience, Mance?
I'm still getting like 100 emails a day from PR and labels. But yeah, I've definitely had the whole, oh, well, you're just doing this because you want to sleep with the band, you're a groupie. No, I actually really just like the music. But it's
they can't believe it, can they, man? So it's just like,
yeah,
they actually can't believe people like us are doing it because we care about it.
Yeah,
they do it because like you say, we want to sleep with the band, we want to be noticed by the band, we want to, and we're going to go away and do whatever else afterwards, get a proper job that girls get.
Yeah, so
I'm so glad you're doing it.
Well, I just don't do it enough anymore. You know, the day job gets in the way, but it is. When I first started Metalmance, the blog, you know, I never revealed who I was. You know, I never gave away that I was a girl, let alone just one girl doing it. And I'd get emails being like, "Hey guys, can you review?" So not only did bands think I was a guy, but they thought I was like several men. And then I often wonder.
So interesting.
Yeah, I often wonder.
Got that as well, obviously because of my name. Like, it was kind of an advantage in a way, because you'd get people phoning up Rock Sound going, "I need to speak to Ronnie," and you go, "Yeah, it is," and he'd go, "Oh, can you just put him on the phone, please, love?" And I think, right, well, whatever your band is, I'm not fucking writing about them now because you're a complete wanker. Yeah. But you got that as well.
Yeah, but so when it was just Metalmance on WordPress, and I just used to share my reviews on Facebook. Do you remember Facebook?
Yeah.
I felt like then my words are really respected, and you know, I got my quotes in like magazine adverts on like an album release, and you know, word got round, especially in like the tech metal prog scenes, that, oh yeah, you know, get Metalmance to do your review. And then I don't know if it was just a shift in social media, or because I then went on Instagram, kind of, you know, posted more about myself, you know, and then it ended up becoming more of a blog rather than just reviews and stuff, because by that point people weren't already reading the big reviews I was doing. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll just post some pictures of me in a t-shirt. And then I feel like as soon as I went on Instagram and made it more about a blog rather than just reviews, I feel like that's when I lost a lot of not credibility, but I feel like that's when I lost a lot of, I don't know what word to use for it.
Do you think also, like exposed because you're a woman and they could see you were a woman, and that
I don't know if I don't think it was the fact that I was a woman, or just because I was more what's the word, visual, or I was, you know, I was putting myself across social media. I guess it ended up being more personal, and then I guess, you know, my reviews then became less credible in a way. So I often wonder, if I didn't do that, would I have carried on as like making more of a name of it? But you know, why not? I love sharing my collection, you know, and if I didn't share my collections of stuff, then, you know, me and Beardo wouldn't have connected on Instagram. And I think I don't regret it, because I think, oh, this is my hot take here, I was writing for a little magazine a while back, and I stopped because, you know, I wasn't getting paid. I wasn't even getting access to the magazine online. I'd have to sign up to their Patreon, and I'm like, I'm not paying to read my own stuff. And you know, I'm like, look,
you're the nail on the head.
Yeah, I've got a full-time job. I'm also got doing my blog on the side. I kind of applied to write for this magazine just because I thought it would give me more experience. It didn't, because I was getting the same promos I was already getting. And instead, I just got more stressed because it's like, hey, I need you to do an interview a week. Can you do like 3 reviews a week? And oh, by the way, you need to pay for your own Skype credit. We're not going to give you any expenses to pay for, calling America. And I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore because I'm actually not getting anything out of this. I mean, that's not the reason why I did it. It was just the stress was more than like the rewards, I guess. But yeah, so I swore that I would never write for another magazine again. And everyone writes for all the magazines, so actually you're not getting individual voices in individual magazines because everyone writes for all the magazines now.
It's
So
because they will sell an article, sell a review, pay by word. A lot of it is these days as well.
I mean, they're so concerned about having their review shared on social media, but they would just say any good thing about it because they're like, well, if it doesn't get shared on social media, there's no point. And so then you don't get a bad review. No, I guess you get less honest reviews now. And everything gets a 10 out of 10. And I've kind of, my reputation is people know that they're going to get an honest review from me, and I still get bands now, they're starting out and they're like, we just want an honest review from you. And I've had several bands actually take my reviews to heart and kind of be like, yeah, we read what you said and we agree, we're shit in this respect and we're really going to work hard. And I'm like, oh my god, you actually read my but it's
there's some things you said there are so true. Like now no one will pay and they'll get people that will do everything for free anyway, so why should they pay? And you're trying to argue, well, I've got experience, I've got trust, I've got respect, do you know what I mean? But they don't give a fuck about that, like you say, all honest reviews are gone now. Christ, I remember I gave Stains 14 Shades of Grey. I think I wrote 14 Shades of Shit and gave it -10 now.
But that's why I loved Rock Sound as well, because you'd give Avenged Sevenfold a 4 out of 10, and I was like,
oh, I did, didn't I?
God,
they gave me death threats for that, but they forgot I even interviewed them, and they said, yeah, that guy Ronnie, we're going to kill him. They said that in the Metal Hammer. Like, if it was shit, you should say it's shit. Why should people waste their money on shit? Do you know what I mean? But yeah, there's no honest reviews at all. Like you say, everyone's spreading the word. It's for likes, not for trust and, to be authentic anymore. And I run workshops for writers, specifically in the music field, of telling them how to write. Because, like my features would always, I'm not saying just me, everyone, the whole thing was you'd say something from the band. The whole feature would be the band saying what you wanted them to say. And it would get to the point straight away and you'd want to read it. Nowadays, people don't know how to write. They start their features with, oh, so we went down here and we had a packet of crisps and then we went on a bus and we met so-and-so. And then they were waiting for... And what is that saying about the band? Do you mean it's saying fuck all about the band, whereas if you're starting with a quote from the band, a meaningful quote, you want to find out what they're talking about and read it. And things like you say, word counts don't exist. Like you used to do things in nibs of 50. That's another thing that I do on my workshops, like teaching people how to write in nibs, like getting to the point rather than rambling on. And also the worst thing that's happened is AI copy. So people can just run anything through any kind of AI writing program and just it's really shit. There's no emotional connection to it. It might ask you what slant you want the voice in, do you know what I mean? If you want it to be happy, if you want it to be funny, if you want it to be this, but it doesn't have an emotional backing to it. It's not real, do you know what I mean? But big sites are using that now and not paying journalists. No one's getting paid. Like I said, fuck Spotify. Have I said that? Bands aren't being paid. Journalists aren't being paid. No one's being paid. The only one that's getting the money, the only people that are getting the money are the people at the top of the chain. And they're treating our work and musicians' work as if we were influencers doing a get ready with me and we're just putting on some makeup and talking shit. Yeah. Just making it up on the spot and not putting the work in. Grifters, they treat bands and writers and people like that, and artists as well. Like artists used to, you know, everywhere doing artwork, like Derek Hess, you know, doing amazing artwork for albums, for posters, for tours, you know. Jim Bob, I'm going to mention as well, his band Silverburn now,
Silverburn,
you know, amazing artists, and I mean, what work are they getting now? Do you know what I mean? It's all done on like AI, and again, their work is being treated like there's some kind of, you know, like, I'll just be combing my hair and telling you about my day. Do you know what I mean? And I just can't believe it. The person that runs Spotify isn't even interested in music. He's more interested in figures. You don't see.
He's a tech guy.
Yeah, and you don't see his list, do you? Of what bands he's listening to. That would be good, wouldn't it? Like my top bands for you to find this week. You know, there's none of that. Any of these streaming.
I'm gonna put a positive, slightly positive spin on the nihilism. I feel it in my bones. I think that the Gen Z kids are really starting to want authenticity. Like you're seeing bands post AI, and you just get 30 comments underneath just going "fuck AI, AI slop," you know, this, that, and the other. I really hope that bands are starting to learn their lesson. You can see it a mile off with AI art and stuff like that. Again, with Crowbar, Acid Bath, you know, we mentioned Acid Bath quite a lot on this podcast because their trajectory from nothingness to playing with System of a Down is entirely because of TikTok, you know? And I feel like the kids are starting to want that authenticity back in their lives. You know, they're all buying Walkmans. They all, you know, yeah.
You know, my Sony Walkman is in a box.
yeah. Well, you could probably sell it to some kid on eBay for 500 quid now.
Jesus.
So I think I like to think that there is a space that can be created for that kind of authenticity. How you monetize it though is a different story. I think that's a struggle. And I know that I like Metal Hammer's still going in a printed form. And I know Sadler did Metal Head magazine for a bit. I don't know if did you write anything for that? Were you asked to?
Oh, I did. Yeah. I did some really cool interviews. I actually interviewed one of Cult of Luna. Reconnected with the Bronx as well. Like, hadn't seen them since I wrote about them years back. Yeah. But it's quite interesting, actually, what you say that. Like, there's a really cool little organisation in Swansea for young girls, actually, called Girls to the Front. It's not really to do with Riot Girl, but it takes on that mentality. And they have like a fanzine making session, which is really cool. You know, my friend's daughter goes to it. Actually, Willis, shout out to him, Black Eye Riot. He's now in a band called OCDC, which is like OCDC. Yeah, but his daughter Erin, and actually I gave her my bass because what was it doing here with the condition that she had to be in a band if I gave it to her. But she makes me little fanzines. She's been on this like little Girls to the Front fanzine group that they've got, makes fanzines. So, you know, that's pretty cool. You know, it's teaching those girls from a younger age to do stuff like that and just be proactive. Bands have got Bandcamp they can go on and sell direct their merchandise and their tracks to people and put out there what they want to put out there. Curate. Everything's curated, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is. That is true.
I hate that word. Curate their like product, can't they, on there? But it's better for them than other platforms, really, because they get more of the money and it goes more direct to them, you know, as it should be. So I hope things are going in a good direction. Like you say, I feel a bit more positive now. I get a bit cross about it, you know.
I always try and put a positive spin on things if I can, and it's based on nothing other than a hunch. I mean, you know, I think
won't be back, will there, if no one's paying them? If they all have to, even Cult of Luna, like they're Grammy winners or whatever, they've got day jobs. They have to tour when it's like they get their yearly allocation of
their holiday. Yeah.
That's a lot of bands now, isn't it? You know, they've all got day jobs and they're all doing their best to just be a band. That's what they want to do. But yeah, if no one's paying them, they can't pay to record. They can't pay to just make music. So
do you think some of that comes from the accessibility? Like in the record label magazine days, there was that quality control aspect to it. You know, you did have to get signed. You had to stand out. You know, there were DIY bands, of course there were. You know, cassette tapes. You know, and I think maybe with the wealth of opportunity for DIY bands, naturally that's going to dilute the financial aspect to it as well. What's your thoughts on that? Like, what is there an answer to it? I don't know.
Well, it's quite interesting, isn't it? I was really interested in that DIY scene because I was from it and we just did everything ourselves. We made our t-shirts. You probably saw that shit t-shirt on my my Instagram page that we made, and we were trying to pass off as like professionally printed. But like we did everything like that, and there's loads of bands that did that. So I totally appreciate that DIY scene, you know, and also the label scene. Like there's something about a label. I mean, everyone used to think the labels were the bad guys back along, but they were providing you tour support, providing you a wage, you know, paying for your recording costs, the pressing, everything. You didn't have that worry. The only worry you'd have is if whatever contract you signed to make sure it will be beneficial to you in the future. And I'd always say to bands, do not sign away any publishing in that contract. Keep your own publishing for yourself, because like you don't know what would happen to your music, and later on you might want to sell your music to whatever and it would be yours to sell. But yeah, just reading through the contracts basically. So that was good. Bands could tour, bands could afford to eat on tour as well, because that's another thing, you know, bands can't live these days. But yeah, the DIY thing, I was reading something like about Ian Mackay recently. Like Fugazi never had any t-shirts, official t-shirts. Did you know that?
I did know that. Yeah.
And it's like, I just can't get my head around it, you know? Like Ian Mackay's saying you can't buy us. But like, I always say to bands, get t-shirts, print your own t-shirts up, sell t-shirts, because I used to do merch for various bands, and that is how bands eat on the road. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's extra money for you, you know, whatever you want to sell the t-shirt for, that is your money. Do you know what I mean? So
until you get venues trying to get merch cuts, which I think is just one of the most disgraceful things going.
But again, you can go around that. You can give out stickers with your merch address on. You can say from the stage, come to our van. We've got our shop in the back of our van. But you know, you can get around it. You don't have to pay. Some people are all right, aren't they? Some venues are good, but others take about 45%, I've heard, or more. Do you know what I
mean? Yeah, which is a disgrace. And when they're all also asking for £9 a pint, you know, and then they're like, yeah, we're also going to take 30% of your merch cut. It's an absolute joke. So you've started a new Instagram page, and you've been sharing some of your stories. Like, how's that go? Because I've been loving reading them, like genuinely. I think it's been really fun read. Yeah.
Oh God, like I mean, some of it is so cringeworthy, and it started because like I've been doing talks basically on what it's like to be a woman in the music industry as a band or in, you know, journalism, and I found this scrapbook of my band Frantic Spiders. You've probably seen, because I put some of the pages on there, how cringeworthy. Like the recent post was me like playing the drums for 6 months or less, arguing with some sound engineers who just had like our best interests at heart. Because they were like, oh, you're not going to set up your kit tonight. You're going to use the main band's kit, which honestly, nowadays I'd be like, oh yeah, cool, you know. But I was like, no, I'm using my kit actually. And there was this massive argument. They only had our best interests at heart. They wanted to make us sound good. And also they didn't want to have to mic up some shit drum kit. And it was an Axe drum kit. If people out there are familiar with the brand Axe, it was like really cheap as fuck instruments and drums or whatever. It came with like a tape and some learning to play sort of things. But me and Bomber, like Charlie, the guitarist, she bought Bomber a bass and me a drums because we wanted to get going with the band. And so I was trying to set up this axe drum kit, which the skins sounded like somebody had just, I don't know what, like a whoopee cushion or something, you know, when you hit them. And the cymbals were like, honestly, somebody had drilled a hole in a biscuit lid and just stuck it up. It was so bad. But I was adamant that these men weren't going to tell me what to do, you know. So I set up this drum kit. So it's just little stories like that of like quite cringeworthy things that happened. Occasionally, I'll put up a scan of a Rock Sound piece or a Terrorizer piece or whatever piece and tell you the background of it. Yeah, there's been some stories there as well. Like one of my favourite interviews I've put up already was when I had to go and find Electric Wizard and Warhorse in a white van in Camden. And that's all they said. And it was the days before, you know, mobile phones. I didn't really have one. I just winged it, basically. And so I went to Camden to look for this white van that was going to be parked up in a few streets away from the underworld. Can you imagine doing that now? Just going down every street, looking around, thinking there's no white van here.
Knocking on vans. Yeah.
And how I found it was because obviously the windows were slightly open and there was loads of smoke coming out of this one van.
I was going to say, you just have to follow a particular smell.
You're just like following along like Tom and Jerry with an apple pie. And it's just like the weed smell just coming out of the van.
Well, that was it, you know. I'm going to put this story on the thing, but I'll tell it to you. There's a particular show, like the Darrens were obsessed with anything from Hydra Head, and they just absolutely loved Isis, right? The band, which is named after Egyptian goddess.
The Egyptian goddess, yeah.
Yes. So I was in LA. I can't remember what I was in LA for. So I hooked up with Jay Bennett, who was a friend at the time, and Mark Thompson, who ran the label. We went to see Isis. I think it was called Spaceland, and they were playing with Dalek and what's the guy? Joe Preston. He was doing
Thrones. Yeah.
So it was a really fucking good gig, right? And we saw Isis. It was amazing, right? Then after that, when I came back, Jay Bennett said to me, "Oh, wouldn't it be funny to tell the Darrens that Isis has split up, so they think they're never going to see them, and you're the only one that's seen them." So I was like, yeah, that's really great. So literally a few days after I got back, Bennett phoned up or something on the Insta Messenger. And I was like, oh, God, I just had some terrible news. ISIS have split up. And literally they were like in shock. They put their coffee down. Darren Taylor was smoking at the time and it fell out of his mouth. Do you know what I mean? And they literally were like seriously phoning up all these. They're like phoning up their PR and their label in the UK going, oh my God, if you heard ISIS has split up, the word got around so quickly because they were in like a right panic and they obviously hadn't split up. so like the next day it was when all this panic had gone around, I had to say, yeah, actually it was a joke. Me and Bennett were playing a joke. And literally I had to phone up their PR and just apologize and say it was a joke because they caused a lot of trouble, you know.
Imagine that in the social media world though. Like you would never.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Irretrievable. Like,
and it's hilarious because, you know, you have, I don't know how much you think that bands should be private on social media, but you know, when someone makes one of their white text on black background posts on their private social media, and then you have your online outlets just grabbing that and doing a news article, and so every online media outlet is just churning out the same article based on one social media post. If that happened, if you said that if social media was like it was back then, like
salacious. I mean, there's the four of them: Metal Sucks, Metal Injection, Lamb Goat, and the PRP. That just, or Pink Rock Palace, for anybody that remembers what it was called 25 years ago, Pink Rock Palace would just churn the same old crap. That ISIS split up story would have just gone like absolute wildfire, basically.
Well, it would be funny because you'd get all the comments from kids underneath, wouldn't you? Comments from everyone, like people like going, oh, this can't be true, I've researched. I've been on Reddit and asked people, you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? There'll be all that going on. Then there'll be people going, I'm utterly devastated. This was my world. You know, you'd get all these like weird little threads going on. People are arguing with each other about it, you know. So it's really weird because like you can't put anything up, can you, these days without about a million comments. You know, like, you know, not even agreeing with you, just like trying to argue with you or whatever.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? It's really bizarre.
It's like I uploaded a reel recently. It's when I saw a mole in London. You know, I put a lot of love into the reel. You know, I put some video footage up, and someone who doesn't even follow me, they obviously just found the reel from the band have reposted it. They were like, I was there. I didn't enjoy the gig and they were quite disappointing. And I'm just like, oh, cool.
All right.
Thanks for boosting my algorithm.
Okay. Yeah.
It's
really
like,
okay, cool.
I just find it like it's just like if you put that whole thing into life, like you'd be having a conversation with people and there'd be somebody looking over at you from another table, just like who doesn't even know you or know your friends, just going, oh, sorry to interrupt, but I just don't think this. And then they turn back to their life again. It's so weird, isn't it? When you think about it, that's what we've become, like fucking nosy Parkers. That like,
yeah, that's a really good way of putting. It's a really good segue, actually. What has Rock Sound become now? It's just digital only now, isn't it? Is that like what was the chain of events that led to that?
I don't know, because I haven't bought it for ages because I find it really upsetting.
Like PTSD.
Yeah, the last interaction I had was when Sadler left. Patrick said, did I want to come and be like the features editor? I said, no, I've moved to Wales. That wasn't an official conversation. That was just the publisher just offering, you know, because they couldn't find anyone. I can't remember who took over Sadler's job. But he said to me, oh, I'm the new Sadler. And I went, no, you're fucking not. Because like what he was commissioning wasn't what we were. And I don't mean to sound precious about it, but I think, you know, all those early days, like it was really us. It was our personality. It was what we wrote from our heart. You know, it was all the Doomstoner bands, all the weird bands. It was like bands, like you say, 18 Visions bands we were obsessed with at the time. Do you know what I mean? And we had access to all those things. And then it kind of, I don't want to diss Rock Sound because it's upsetting really, but to me, it just became a lot younger than my years, should we say?
It did, yeah.
I remember I had a
now, you know, and
I had a break from it. And then when I went back to it, I was like, why are they only covering pop punk bands?
Yeah.
I never bought it.
And
again.
now I accidentally saw like one of their reels and it's just somebody wearing like the Camden sort of uniform of like, you know, alternative stuff going around doing vox pops and giving people a prize if they can guess their favourite band's 5 songs from their favourite band. I mean, what the fuck is that? Somebody doesn't even know 5 songs from their favourite band. You know what I mean? And they're giving them a prize because they've guessed it. I was like, this is an outrage. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it's become really. You know, people, I mean, I'm sure it's the same for both of you, but when you get an album, you're consumed by it. You know every lyric, you know every word, you know the song titles, you know who published it. You even go back along and see where they recorded it. All this stuff, you're obsessed with it. It's under your skin. So you know everything about it and you know everything about your favourite band. And then when somebody goes, oh, name 5 songs from your favourite band, say if it's a Killing Joke, I could just rattle off loads. I'm not going to bore people now, but Psych is my favourite Killing Joke song. But do you know what I mean? To get a prize, a Rock Sound sticker on a bag and some goodies for knowing about the band that you apparently love so much. I think that's what it's become. People are so used to just looking at things on the surface and streaming and scrolling and that, and they don't really. And the interviews as well, like you were saying, how has journalism changed? The interviews don't ask questions.
No.
Like if I was doing the interview with Ian Mackay that I read the other day, I'd want to know, so Fugazi don't have their T-shirts because you think it's consumerism. Why has Discord got T-shirts then? Do you know what I mean? Everyone's frightened to ask people in case they get offended. But a lot of the time bands don't want to get offended. They want to be asked. They want to give their chance to explain.
I think just discovering more about, just more about it, and I agree. It's everything's just surface level, like for the internet, for whatever it is, there was nothing like getting a issue of Terrorizer, Kerrang, Rock Sound, whatever it was, Raw magazine. You've got 3 or 4 pages, and it's a whole story. It's like a story of like what's going on in the band's lives at that point. What's making them tick? What are their, and it's just not there anymore.
And the thing is as well, Dan, like we would discuss that as well afterwards when the magazines came out. We'd sit there in our gang, we'd be like, oh, did you read this? And we would discuss. I mean, we were discussing the other day about Godflesh, weren't we? We're still discussing, and we want to know things, and we're interested in things. Whereas I don't think other people are. Like, they're just so used to just scrolling by, and everything's really disposable. Even people's words are disposable. We don't need our life to be meaningless. We need meaning. Find the meaning. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I suppose like this is our little way of giving back to that. Like doing this podcast actually is our way of kind of, because we've done a few band interviews, and they're not, we're not doing this for like 15, 20 minutes. We've done hour and a half, 2-hour conversations with bands, and we're trying to make this little thing, this way of like giving back and kind of building up that sort of experience again, I suppose. So it's not cutting through yet. I mean, I think the last episode only got 70 views, but we're not doing it for the views. We just keep going, basically.
Well, this is like
we'd be chatting shit anyway.
Yeah, this is what I'm going to say. This is like an extension of what we would be doing, like over a pint or whatever, in the pub. We'd get the latest issues of whatever magazine are out, or the latest album, or do you know what I mean? And we'd be discussing who the album thanks on the back, and like,
that's right. Yeah.
Have you heard of these bands? Do you know what I mean? Oh, so and so's guested on this album. What band's he in? Do you know? And we'd be discussing, and things in the interview that were brought up, we'd be discussing the band. I mean, it wouldn't be like we were trying to get to know them like stalkers or anything, but we just want to know because we were passionate about them and we liked it.
Yeah. It's
totally funny because last week we were talking about thank yous, weren't we? I think we were talking about A Divisions again, lo and behold. We were talking about Fall Out Boy, weren't we? And how the members are actually just massive metalhead nerds. And then I was saying, looking back through Until the Ink Runs Out, thank yous. They thank Pete Wentz and whatever, blah blah blah, because they're all part of the same hardcore thing. But bands don't even write thank yous anymore. They're just like, oh, we just want to thank our friends and family. You know who you are, and you're like, no, give me.
Yeah, but there's no room. There's no room in the artwork anymore because you just get a little CD cardboard sliver, which used to be like the new Converge record that I picked up, and it looked like a promo copy from the 2000s because it's just in a cardboard sleeve. I'm like, I used to get these for free. I'm not paying £13 for this, So it's
that goes back to my Heresy box set, doesn't it? Oh, I got something else that's a bit rare here. Oh, I'll have to find it.
Show and tell.
Oh, very, very nice. Very nice. Yeah.
It might be on coloured vinyl, actually. Oh, there's loads of things in it. Because
is it blue? Is it blue vinyl?
No, we used to have a split they did with what was the map? I can't remember the band. American Heritage.
Yeah.
1 inch. I think it was green vinyl as well.
I have that. I still have that.
Do you? I think you was at that gig, weren't you? American Heritage gig, right?
That's right.
And we got them from there because we couldn't get one from Mastodon.
That's right. Yeah. That's exactly it. And also, talking of Killing Joke, something you need to pick up is the Steve Albini demos of Extremities that has just arrived as well. So get yourself that. So
I'm devastated. Half the band's dead.
Obviously. I know. Like I
such a hero. Raven. I loved Raven. He was a lovely bloke. Yeah.
I think there's still time for them to do something. I think Jazz is doing very well. So I hope that Killing Joke as a unit will continue on.
He always said, didn't he, like that they would continue on no matter what members were in there, and it would evolve.
Yeah,
but I really
yeah.
don't think you could replace Geordie and his
Geordie,
sound.
you can't.
Well,
It's just completely unique.
I've
And
got
we could
something
probably
else here on the
okay.
wait a sec, right? So, right, this this is Anne Dudley from The Art of Noise and Jazz Coleman, right? And it's
Yeah,
called Songs from the Victorious City, right? I picked this up in about 91 when it first came out. And it's so, I love now, right? I fucking love loads of Middle Eastern music because it's just so, you know, to a Western person, it's really alien. But once you start listening to it, it's the heart. Do you know what I mean? And on this, he's playing with mostly Arabic and Egyptian musicians, people like Hossam Ramsey, the drummer. So this is like something that I picked up years ago that I still play all the time. Like, and Jazz Coleman is he's amazing. He's like a conductor. He's written symphonies.
Yeah.
People don't know that side of him, and he was brought up into the occult as he was a child. So
yeah,
it's really interesting person.
We could do you and me could do a 2-hour episode just about Killing Joke and Jazz Coleman, I think. We're coming up on time now. So is it like what's your sort of last sort of bits you want to? What's advice for the future for young, you know, Ronnie of the future?
I think a young Ronnie of the future, don't give up, grift, don't grift, graft, put the work in, you know, and it will pay off, hopefully. But if it doesn't pay off, it's for your soul, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? You have to do it for your soul. If you just gave up and just had a normal life, whatever that is, there'd be something missing from you. So, you know, I think if you want to do it, just do it. Just do it any way you can. Try and get published. If you can't get published, do it your own. Get your own fanzine out there. Make some fanzine that people will buy. Just go and do it. Basically,
yeah.
I
don't give up.
And Metalmance, what's your advice for young Metalmances out there?
Be authentic.
Yeah,
I try not to look at what everyone else is doing, and that's so hard, especially with social media. But be authentic, do what you believe in, and do what you love, and just remember at the end of the day, you're doing it for the lols, basically. You're doing it because you love it.
I totally agree, and I just do it, you know, and that's why we did this. We're like, we don't care, let's just give it a go, see what happens, and you know, it's just fun. So Ronnie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for, I think we overcame your technical difficulties in the end. And I will churn this all together so it will be utterly smooth and nobody will know any difference. So thank you everybody for listening to Pod Destroyer episode 10 on International Women's Day, recorded with two amazing women in the metal scene. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Pod Destroyer is not filmed in front of a live studio audience. Metalmance and Beardodoom are not trained professionals, and as such, it is positively encouraged to try this at home.